All right, there's been so much talk about sacrifice, adjustments, the buy-in for the Sixers players now that they've added both LeBron James and Jaylen Brown. But there was also something that piqued our interest with Draymond Green, multi-time champion, future Hall of Famer, Defensive Player of the Year also. And he talked about playing on a team like he has played and winning those championships. But he brought up VJ Edgecombe in a way that he discussed about how the agent might be, if he were his agent, might be a little bit upset because of after VJ's first-team All-NBA rookie season, how will that change his trajectory going into year number 2? Now, because of that, we wanted to discuss how will LeBron and Brown's move to the Sixers impact the young players most, and who might it impact most? So, Derek, who might it impact most when we speak about the young players?
Yeah, it's interesting because it impacts everyone in different ways. I think it might impact Philon a ton because LeBron is going to come in and be point guard in role, if not in name. So, one of the ways you could get Philon on the court early in his career is like you just desperately needed his ball handling and his court vision, and maybe you're willing to, live with some of his defensive limitations because you needed his skill sets so much. Well, now all of a sudden you don't need his skill sets quite as much. You're not as desperate for the ball handling and the playmaking and the passing. So maybe now you let him develop both physically and develop his game at a slower pace. So it will probably impact his playing time the most out of all of them. Maybe Justin Edwards as well, just because Jaylen and LeBron are wings who can take up so many minutes, but you don't have a ton of depth on the wing. So I think Justin, if he's making shots, would probably still be in the rotation. So I guess the way I would answer it is I think from a minutes standpoint, it probably impacts Philon the most. But from a role perspective, it might impact VJ Edgecombe the most. Because this was a guy who, at various points last year, was your second option. From his electric first game all the way until the end, you needed him to create more than I think anyone here thought you were going to rely on him to do. And now you add Jaylen Brown, former finals MVP, LeBron James, 4-time NBA champion, and he might be a fifth option on some nights. So I think there's multiple different ways. Like I said, I think these additions impact every young player that you have, and they're different because, VJ might not have the same role. Like his role might be impacted a lot, but he's still going to play 30, 35, 40 minutes some nights. He's still going to be a huge player. He's just going to be playing a different role than you expected. But Philon, like his pathway to being in the rotation early on in his in the year and in his career might be a little murkier.
I was going to go Philon too, because initially when even though it was just Jaylen Brown, we were saying, all right, he may not play 25 minutes a night, but after showing what he showed at Summer League and Nick Nurse saying this guy is going to play when he was interviewed and discussing his rookie's play, he just openly talked about this guy can play basketball. We discussed the weight and having to get a little bit stronger to be able to maintain and hang out there on the floor with the rest of the players that he's going to be going against. But now with LeBron James here, when we think of ball handler number 1 will be LeBron James, backup ball handler would be Tyrese Maxey. Then you have Jaylen Brown who's going to have the rock. You're going to have VJ Edgecombe who's going to have the rock. And that leaves him kind of in I don't know where land.
Yeah.
Because of, yes, he can score. Yes, he can initiate and run an offense. But where do you find time for him? Defensively, things are still going to be defensively. That's just what it is. However, it's more about the offense. And can he make shots? Can he run a team? Can he be out there with different lineup constructions that they have to give new wrinkles that they will have out there on the floor? He will have time, but I do wonder if he is the one, as we talked about sacrifice again during the week, if he is going to have to be the one as a first-round pick that will most likely sacrifice what was potentially to be pre-LeBron and now what might be post-LeBron.
Yeah, and look, I think there's always, like when we talk about this, you're a little conflicted because quite frankly, what I saw in Summer League is a player that I want to see in the regular season. So like when we say this, we're not saying he should be out of the rotation, but coaches are always a little bit hesitant to play young players. There's always a little bit of I would prefer not to do this unless you're like the third pick in the draft and VJ Edgecombe, who's quite frankly one of his main calling cards as a young player was he really gets after it defensively. But most rookies, most people drafted outside of the lottery, coaches are going to be a little bit hesitant, especially if you're in a win now mindset, which obviously they signed 41 going on 42-year-old LeBron James. They're trying to win now.
Right.
So I think a coach's natural inclination, especially one that's a little bit on the hot seat, especially one with expectations, is I'd prefer not to play somebody with no experience, which doesn't mean that's what the fans want, but that's what the coaches generally veer towards. Well, a month ago you said, I don't know if this team has enough creation. I don't know if this team has enough guys who can dribble, pass, and shoot. You need to get Philon on the court. It would be hard to deny him a spot in the rotation.
Remember, you were saying he's the best passer coming in out of the draft.
And he was the best passer on the team, absolutely.
So is he number 2?
He might still be number 2, but I could see now the Sixers have enough creation on the court where Nick goes like, yeah, but I'm not willing to live with that inexperience day one. I'm not willing to live with that defensive struggles that he's going to have on day one. He needs to get experience. He needs to get physically stronger. He needs to get some playing time down in G League. I could absolutely see that being the case.
I will say this, though. I think he is talented enough where he's going to push for some minutes.
Yep.
At least starting out of training camp into preseason, having minutes in preseason, leading up into the start of the regular season. I think he's going to push. And if not push, he will have some good practice time. He will get a lot of run with the G League team, the Blue Coats. He will rip up the G League with the Blue Coats and be forced to have Nick Nurse and the coaching staff make a decision. That's how talented offensively he is.
And I don't think this changes anything long term.
No.
I don't think this even changes what I would like to see. But like I said, it's just because you have so many more options now, I could see Nick changing his approach just a little bit.
Would you be surprised if he broke through, though, because of how talented he is offensively? And we know about the defensive concerns, but offensively, would you be surprised if he broke through somehow?
I would not be surprised if he broke through at some point this season. I would be a little surprised if he broke through from day one.
Okay.
Maybe like come out, you get a cup of coffee every now and then. In terms of like entering the regular rotation, let's put it this way, if it happened before January 1st, I would be a little bit surprised.
Okay.
But I think he'll get an opportunity at some point this season for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
All right. VJ Edgecombe, you mentioned him. We already discussed that a lot on the show anyway of how things are going to change, and that's just a natural change. But we also saw him last year where he did defer a lot because he was allowing his veteran teammates to do their parts. He took over at times as well. So we've seen both. We've all believed the buy-in is there. So while he may take a little bit of a hit, he's also going to take a hit and not mope and pout about maybe taking a hit of what his level of involvement may be with as far as offensively goes. Anywhere else, I wouldn't think the centers, they don't. Outside of the 5 conversation we had about LeBron James maybe stealing some minutes, Bona, Huckporty getting some minutes stolen because of LeBron James playing the 5. It's a possibility, as we discussed, but not like the guards.
Right. No, and look, we talked about it. I think because of the physical demands it would take to play LeBron at the 5, I think that's more like a last resort or just a change of pace that they throw out every now and then. I don't expect it to be a regular part of the rotation. So I don't think either of these two moves, in a weird way, the Dean Wade addition might impact, Bona and Huckporty more than LeBron
Stretch
James.
5. Yeah.
But, look, I think both of them are going to have an opportunity. Both of them have a chance of being out of the rotation if they play poorly and Joel is available. So it's great to have a little bit of competition in that spot because I think not that, it's not like Bona doesn't try hard. It's not like he doesn't give you the effort. But little competition always helps. And quite frankly, just more options helps. Not only Huckporty being another option, but also having Wade, who's a very different stylistic option. So
and Don Barlow.
And Don Barlow.
Barlow.
Sure.
Saw him making some threes the other day with the guards. I don't know.
I hope.
Did you see that video?
Look, it's great. Again, I don't believe anything until
it's the only thing I didn't like.
Okay.
You saw the form of Edgecombe. You saw the form of Philon. All you saw was the follow through for Don Bar. It was restricted a little bit. So I don't know. I'm still a little skeptical, but I'm pushing for Barlow. I'm all in on Don Barlow.
Look, he is an NBA player. All he needs to do is shoot. And I'm not talking about B. Ray Allen out there.
No.
I'm talking about B. Dean Wade out there. If
Wade?
he becomes Dean Wade, he is an NBA player for a long time.
If he was Dean Wade, is he better than Dean Wade? And you know what I mean by that. I'm not saying
yeah. I think Dean is a better one-on-one defender right now. I think Barlow could end up being a little more versatile of one over time
because he's more athletic and
he's just a little bit of it. Like he's a little more comfortable with the ball in his hands.
Yeah,
he's a little more of a secondary playmaker.
All hypothetical, everybody, just playing around here.
But if he shoots like he shot last year, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, because Dean Wade is Dean Wade because he can shoot and defend.
Mm-hmm.
Barlow, we can see, is an NBA player. He can defend. He can finish around the rim. Right. He can create it for himself a little bit. It's just a three-point shot. It's the outside shot.
Yep.
That's not there, where it's natural for Dean Wade, not so much for Barlow.
No, and like I said, I think Wade is relatively limited offensively outside of the stand in a corner, catch and shoot. I know he's trying to work to diversify that, but for the most part, you don't even really want him putting the ball on the deck all that much. Like he's a catch and shoot guy who very occasionally will make like an off-ball cut, but he's not going to string 3 or 4 dribbles together. I think Don Barlow can string a couple dribbles together. I think he's got decent court vision where he can make plays.
Yep.
It just doesn't really matter if people are playing 10 feet off of him.
Dean Wade, floaters, runners.
Yeah.
Didn't he say that with Jason for Channel 6?
He did.
Yeah.
Which, look, I'm always in favor of people diversifying their games. If I see
teardrop,
if I see Dean Wade passing out of open 3-point shots so he can take a mid-range 15-footer that he's probably shooting 35% on,
here we
I
go.
will lose my mind.
He's attacking the closeout. The closeout, he's going to closeout, so he's
That's
if he's
great.
not sidestepping, he's going to his spot.
If attacking the closeout gets him all the way to the rim, go for it.
You mean like a layup or a dunk?
Yeah.
See, here we go. This is the same argument I had with Doc Rivers about Ben Simmons.
He's a career 35%
All
mid-range
I'm saying
shooter.
is if he is ran off the line and it's not a sidestep and somebody else is closing, if he can't get to the rim but can get to that spot, little teardrop. I'm not mad at that.
If you get run off the line and you've got enough time on the shot clock, pass the ball to somebody else who can do something inside.
All these discussions, everybody, are going to be fun all season long as they head towards 50-plus wins, and we'll see beyond that. Who for you?
Too much talent on here to be selling for Dean Wade 15-footers. Come on now.
Who for you of the young players with James and Brown and Wade now in the mix?
He's not young. It's a very loose definition of young.
I was getting to the young players of the young players who will be impacted the most, maybe with playing time, potentially being cut back a little bit their role. Let us know in the chat. Leave a like, leave a comment, hit the like button overall. Subscribe to the show. We really appreciate it, as always. Arguing with Derek because he only wants threes. Kyle would agree with him as well. Me and Bree are just on an island. I hope Bree is on my side on this one.
You're going to have Joel taking mid-rangers. You're going to have Jalen taking middies. You're going to have Tyrese taking mid-range shots. I'm up for mid-range shots just from people who can make them.
That's not a mid-range jump shot. That's a floater or a runner because you can get to the spot.
I don't care what you call it. If that shooting percentage doesn't at least start with a 4, don't take it.
We'll see you guys next time.